Want to heal itself. I want you to think of the blueprint of your dream home. You buy your lakefront piece of property with a mile lakefront. You got docks and your boats and everything. You take this blueprint of your dream home and you throw it out in the middle of your lot there. Nothing's going to happen. But it's the blueprint. We still need carpenters and bricklayers, right? And roofers. You need roofing tiles, you need flooring, you need brick, you need wood for the framing, you need concrete for the basement, you need asphalt for the driveway, you need glass for the windows, and copper piping, and sewers, and all that kind of stuff, right? A lot of stuff's going to go, but you got the blueprint. DNA is the blueprint. Doctors believe, unfortunately incorrectly, that your genes are self-perpetuating. They are the whole world. They can make everything that they're supposed to make. But they need the 90 essential nutrients to pull that off. They don't consider that. And so what we do is, again, we maximize our genetic potential for longevity, for health, and fending off disease, and speed, strength, and intelligence, making good decisions, and many other things ought to be genetically controlled, by giving ourselves these 90 essential nutrients. And just stand back and let the body do its thing. Just remember, there's only two reasons why it'll fail. You're a 300-pound guy, you're taking a dose for a 50-pound kid. And secondly, you're not absorbing. I suppose you could do both. You can underdose and not absorb. That'd be very good. Okay, so we're just giving the body what it needs to heal itself. And people always say, is there any research to prove what you're saying, Wallach? This is so outrageous. $100 billion worth of research. I say 60% of it's animal, 60% of it's human. Medical schools, veterinary schools, agricultural schools, pharmaceutical schools. $100 billion worth of research. So your doctor needs to have his head held underwater for a few minutes.
So I think that's important, I mean, that is the greatest thing about Youngevity, is that what we believe in is the fundamental foundational nutrients that are found in food. So when we are talking about our products, we're not talking about some crazy wild fruit that's on the side of the Himalayas, or that there's some new ingredient that was discovered by some university or such. It's just natural nutrients that happen to be deficient in the foods that we eat, and that's why the products are so powerful. You know what, Dr. Wallach, is that I think that every great man, and I would definitely classify you as a great man. Has pioneered social change. It seems like there is one moment, one episode, one experience at times, or a few of them that have kind of set their course in the path to their destiny. Like, for example, Gandhi talks about, the brutal beating of one of his classmates in Kenya, and that's what Ford and his mission. Nelson Mandela talks about his experience in grade school and how he was treated and felt that there wasn't an opportunity for him. Would you say that there was maybe a few experience or an episode that said to you that, this solidified or reinforced your path to voicing this mission of nutritional deficiency and disease?
Oh, absolutely, Sanjeev. Again, in the book Dead Doctors Don't Lie, and in the book Epigenetics, and there's more detail in the book Epigenetics. As much detail as there was in Dead Doctors Don't Lie, there's more in Epigenetics. And there's at least a dozen events that have taken place in a 75-year life. The first one, of course, was when I was 4 years old. I had facial tics and oinking noises like a pig and stuff, and got worse and worse and worse. By the time I was 9, I was disabled, and all my friends thought I was possessed by the devil. Because it was not nice, it was ugly. And my mom, for some reason, took to a medical doctor, eye doctor, and her name was Mary Jane Skeffington. She was the best eye doctor in Missouri, I heard. I'm 9 years old. It was awful. So I go there, she examines, she said, well, I can't find anything wrong with Joel, but he does have long eyelashes, and I believe his eyelashes are hitting his glasses, curling back and tickling his eyeballs. And so she gives me a Maybelline eyelash brush, and she said, I want you to retrain your eyelashes. Now, that was before don't ask, don't tell. These 200-pound football players, that weigh 90 pounds, you rip my arms off and beat me to death with my own arms, right? And so, yeah, that ain't gonna work. And so the next day in school, everybody else went to lunch. I went to the library, And I asked the librarian where the science books were. And I found a little section on health, and I found a nurse's handbook, kind of like a Merck manual kind of thing for nurses. And I looked in the index under eyelids and eyelashes, couldn't find anything, so I just started going down the index. I hit cramps under C's. Maybe it's a cramp. Went to the page, said to go to, it says calcium deficiency. Well, every morning before the bus would pick me up from school, one of my chores was to feed the little bull calves we're going to sell at auction that month, and with the vitamin mineral enriched alfalfa pellets. That was one of my jobs. There's nothing else to do at 4 o'clock in the morning, so you read the labels and so forth. And it had all the minerals and everything in there, including calcium. That day after school, when everybody else was doing the thing, I ran from the bus, went to the barn, and started eating handfuls of these alfalfa pellets. Next morning, I threw the Cheerios out to the chickens in the yard and filled my bowl with his alfalfa pellets. Milk in there. My mom freaks out. She wanted to take away my dad. Said, let him have, nothing else is working, let him try it, for goodness sake. And in 3 days' time, praise God, I was cured. I was very, very scared because I knew that God had given me that information. Why me? Why did God give me that information? No 9-year-old figures this out. So that scared me. And I began to really study it. And by the time I had graduated high school, I was really on to the nutrition thing. And I was able to letter in 3 sports in high school. And here's a kid that was disabled and lettering in 3 sports, wrestling and football and track. Okay? And so that was cool. And I lettered 2 years in a row at the University of Missouri in wrestling and so forth. And this is a disabled kid, right? And I worked in the agriculture department, feeding the beef cattle, feeding and milking the dairy herds, working with the poultry department. I worked for my lunches and dinners because I didn't have any money, didn't have any grants or anything, so I had to do all this work to pay for everything in school. First Wallach to go to university. And I noticed that they're giving all these vitamins and minerals, just like we used to do on the farm. Why are they doing all this? And of course, my soils professor, William Albrecht, who's a legend, he was my soils professor, and he's another one of my mentors, like Marlon Perkins. Everybody else is out drinking beer on the weekends. I'm sitting in the Sanborn experimental field with him every weekend, and he's telling me everything he knows. And so I learned about soil, and I learned about plants, nutrition, and so forth from him.
So Dr. Albrecht was...
Albrecht, yeah.
Okay.
Got me into that soil thing. Now he knew that the soils were depleted because there was no more minerals in the soil. But he thought the answer was waiting for the weather to break rocks and get more rock dust. He never made a relationship to wood ashes. He never made that relationship. And I kind of figured that out a little bit later when I was doing all those autopsies. And I used to go to some of the houses where people had died from. I want to know why they had so many problems and so forth. They still had electricity. The ones who didn't have problems, they were hit by cars, they had wood stoves. Kind of interesting stuff.
Now, there was a mineral institute at the University of Missouri, is that right? Was there, I felt that I read at one time at the University of Missouri there was an institute that studied trace minerals.
Well, that was William Albrecht.
Okay.
Yeah, that was him. And yeah, he was big into trace minerals and things. Very, very smart guy. But he believed that, he just loved rocks and how they would decompose with weather, freezing, cracking, and so that was kind of his thing. He never made the relationship to the wood ashes. And at any rate, the next thing after that, of course, was in Africa. When I went to Africa for 2 years, working on the African Elephant Conservation Project and the White Rhino Conservation Project, I'm noticing that all the wild animals, all the wildebeest and the wild pigs and the elephants and the giraffes are all coming to these dirty, muddy ponds and drinking that. And the clear, sprinkling spring waters, only the people drank that. The animals never drank the clear, sparkling water. So I actually collected samples and sent them to the university for analysis, and guess what I found? The clear, sparkling water had no minerals in it, and the dirty, muddy water had all the minerals in it. Ah. Okay, so the animals were smarter than people. And then, of course, when you do 20,000 autopsies, 20 million chemistries, 20 million special stains, and you find nutritional deficiency diseases that are thought to be genetic in humans and 40 species of animals, you know there's something wrong with the genetic theory. I mean, how does a kid figure all these things out? So I know that I've been guided all through this whole thing by the good Lord. Thank you.
talking about some of the neurological disorders, you talked a lot about the pathways. And I love how you've always brought in the pathology of disease and illness, because it really allows me to understand that the root causes of all of these different types of diseases and illnesses come from a very few places, right? And so will you talk a little bit about like that pathology link? You know, how is it that 90 essential nutrients, you know, oftentimes I'll talk about 90 essential nutrients and they'll say, you know what, that sounds like a snake oil. How could you think that just this set of nutrients is able to help or support 900 different diseases and illnesses, you know?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that. What disease are you talking about?
Just
Any
the
disease.
pathology, any, yeah.
Okay, well, let's look at diabetes. That's a very easy one to kind of understand. Blood sugar is not the disease. High blood sugar is a symptom. Just managing the symptom is like managing pain when you have arthritis. Is taking a painkiller to help your arthritis? No, it just manages the pain. The arthritis keeps getting worse. And then you can't stand the pain anymore. You're taking 6 painkillers. Give me the surgery. Give me the surgery. Doctor didn't even have to ask. You were going to ask him. Same with diabetes. Okay? Why do you get your legs cut off? Why do you go blind? It's not because you have high blood sugar. It's because you're missing those nutrients that are required for things to work. Now, when you have type 2 diabetes, which makes up 98% of the diabetic population all over the world, regardless of who these people are, 90% of the diabetics are type 2. Babies are being born with type 2 diabetes now. Okay? And what's missing is a communication between insulin and the cell wall. Okay? There's a communication link there that's missing. Now, if you have type 2 diabetes and you take a pill like metformin, which it works for most people, you say, well, I took metformin for a couple of months and my blood sugar just kept going up. It never worked for me. They said I turned into a type 1. No, you didn't turn into a type 1. You're still a type 2. Why couldn't that metformin work for them? They couldn't absorb it. They got a gluten intolerance. Get them gluten-free, get them on the healthy blood sugar pack, tell them to check their fasting blood sugar every morning before they medicate themselves and blood sugar drops. They reduce their medications their doctors taught them to do. Tell them, follow your doctor's instructions. Your blood sugar every morning. If your blood sugar drops, you need less medication. Your blood sugar goes up, take more medication, just like your doctor told you. But when they get down below 100 milligrams per deciliter, which is the number of their blood sugar, they've been 400, 300, 200, and now it's like 87 for 2 weeks in a row without medication. They don't need medication anymore. But here comes the ultimate question, Sandy. How long do you have to stay on the healthy blood sugar pack? For life!
You know, I think this is really important because, you know, I know that many of you will oftentimes ask me questions and you'll say, you know, what is the protocol? You'll use this word, protocol. What's the protocol for this? I have a friend with this issue. What's the protocol? And number one, you're thinking of this as like medicine. That there is like this specific protocol to this particular health issue. And what I hope that you're understanding now is that the fundamental foundational philosophy of our bodies, our health, and what Dr. Wallach has researched for 50 plus years is that fundamentally we just need these 90 essential nutrients on a consistent basis. And when you do that, the body has the ability to search for that weakness, bring its strength, and therefore deal with this symptom that you have, which is oftentimes the least of your issues, you know? So I just want to make sure you do that.
To finish off that diabetes thing, what we're doing when we're giving them the healthy blood sugar pack is that mineral cofactor that's missing that gives you that connection. See, doctors will tell them, well, you're not making any insulin. That's why the metformin's not working. Your pancreas is dead. That's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Check their insulin levels. Oh, that's a different story. They have tons of insulin. Well, then how come it's not working? They're missing that little connector there. So you take the healthy blood sugar pack, you give them the connector, and suddenly now your cell walls all recognize insulin, and it begins to work. But they got to stay gluten-free forever. Got to save the 90 cents of nutrients forever, just like they need oxygen forever, they need water forever. They need the 90 cents of nutrients forever. The reason why they have diabetes